I'm Robin from Access LARP. This video is to show you the Braille printer that was purchased with the help of donations from Access LARP supporters. So before we begin, just a little bit of information about what Braille is and how Braille printers work, and then I'll move over to showing you the actual printer and give you a demonstration. So Braille is a system of writing and reading for people who are partially sighted or blind, and it works on patterns of up to 6 dots in a grid pattern, which are raised on the reading side, and each pattern represents a specific letter. And that means on the raised side, the reader can run their fingers over the text and feel those impressions and therefore read the text. So Braille printers were designed to replace the sort of most basic method of producing Braille, which is to use a stylus and individually make each indentation by hand, using a template, which is quite slow and quite precise work. So Braille printers were mechanised devices which use keys which allow you to press the indentations into the paper. Now, for the latter half of the 20th century, these were often very large devices which look vaguely like a typewriter or a stenograph, and have keys on which correspond either to each individual letter or simply to the indentations, which allow people to type in Braille. And more recently, obviously, with the progress in computer programming and technology, there are a lot of digital and computerized devices which can integrate with regular PCs and allow Braille to be digitally printed and digitally typed. And this works both on an individual level and on a personal and on a commercial level. So the device that we got, I'll show you, the device that we got was actually a precursor to the typewriter type machines. It's called a Stainsby machine, and it was quite popular because it's quite small and relatively portable compared to the typewriter types, and the downside being that it's a little more slow and less intuitive to type the Braille letters and indentations. But that's the one that we've got. It does allow for Braille typing, and I'll move over to the demonstration portion now so you can see better how it works, and I hope that this proves interesting to you.
Okay, so here I know the colour's a little washed out, hopefully it's not too bad. So this is everything we got as part of the Stainsby machine. I'll show you the tag which came with it. Hopefully there we go. Hopefully you can see that. So this actually came from the Royal National Institute for the Blind, RNIB, and that identifies it as a Stainsby, which is the particular type and patent of the machine. And with it we get the board, which has these peg holes in, the paper mount, which has pins for holding the Braille paper on, and again fits to the board with those pegs. Got a whole stack of paper for punching, which is you need quite a firm paper, which takes the embossing. And then we got the main part of the machine. This is the business end that does all the work, and this is known as the carriage. So as I said before, Braille is based on a grid of 6 dots, and you can see the detail along here that there are grids of 6 dots, and that's what the carriage uses to punch the holes into the paper. And it's done by pressing down patterns of these 6 keys simultaneously. Each one of these corresponds to a particular dot, and then you have a space bar. So I'll just move this carriage back to the end and then set it up and show you how it works. So first of all, we'll add our paper into the guidelines, and make sure that's straight, and then you lock it in place with this little notch. Then the paper gets fed into the carriage, and you place the carriage where you want to print. There we go. Where you want to print on your page, and it just slots into those holes so that you can see. Move that back into frame a bit better. Okay, so it's a little awkward because I'll have to be reaching around to show you that it's done, how it works. Because we're doing the reverse of the paper, we're punching holes into this side of the paper so that you get the raised bits on the other side. We actually work from right to left. So I'm going to write Access LARP. I got that wrong actually, so I'll do a space. So start again. A, C, C, E, S, S, space, L, A, oh, it's a bit stuck, R, and P. Okay, so I'm going a little bit slowly because I don't know the Braille alphabet very well. I'm following a reference sheet, and also because I'm reaching over to do it on camera. But you can see that it's a little bit slow going and a little bit clunky, but apart from that it's pretty simple to use. If you have arthritis in your hands, doing a lot of this might actually prove tricky, or if you get dislocating joints, you might struggle with it a bit. I might end up with some pain in my joints if I was doing this a lot, but for most people it's actually a really simple, easy task. So I'll take this off now and show you what we've written. It just slides off nice and simply. Unlock, lift the paper off and turn it over, and this is the part we're looking for. So you can see where I initially made a mistake, and then that way we've got A, C, C, E, S, S. And then we can see that the L that I was struggling with didn't actually print, so we've had a mistype there. We'd have to go back in and try and slot that down. A, R, P. So it is pretty simple, and I'll lift that up because I'm aware that it might be a bit tricky to see. And hopefully you can see the raised dots on there. I know it's a bit tricky to see on camera. And you can also see at the top here some practicing I was doing yesterday with the alphabet and other bits and pieces on here, just getting a feel for it.
So I hope that was interesting for you and you found it in some way useful. So as far as this machine and Access LARP goes, I've got 3 ideas for how we can use it. So firstly, I'm going to be using it within Access LARP to set some documents into Braille, starting off with some of the shorter documents because of the length of time it takes to actually set them. So setting an entire guide in Braille will be quite a task using that. But for shorter documents and for handouts and things like that, especially for workshops and presentations, it'll be a really good tool for me to have for Access LARP. Secondly is, again, setting documents into Braille for other LARPs, for LARP organisers. So if you are running a game and you want to have some of your documents set into Braille, I would be able to set those documents for you. If you sent me the original copy, I could then transcribe it, as it were, into Braille. And that would probably cost a small fee per document, but I would obviously try and keep that reasonable. And then the third thing is that if you're a LARP organiser or an event organiser who wants to have more documents set into Braille, or you want to do it yourself, or because of the portability of the Stainsby machine, you want to be able to have that machine at your event so that you can set documents on the fly, as it were, or by request. And for LARPs, I can see that being particularly useful for things like Lammies, area effect notices, and for other events, handouts or particular documents that come up at the time. And for that, I will be setting up a scheme so that you can hire out the Stainsby machine, again for a small fee, just to cover usage and maintenance and that sort of thing. And yeah, that should be a resource that will become available to LARP organisers and event organisers generally in the near future. I hope again this is interesting to you. Thank you again to supporters and people who have allowed this to happen. And it's been very nice talking to you. Goodbye.